Hello everybody. I'm talking in the beginning of winter. It is November the 9th. It was the beginning of winter yesterday, according to Chinese solar term. Looking back, I can say that this past autumn is warmer than usual and warmer than the last one. How do I know? First of all, this is just how I felt about this autumn. Besides, I have another proof. That is a video that was taken last year in November the 14th, when people used a basket heater in the village. Well, so far this year we haven't used a basket heater for even once. Now I'm looking up on the weather forecast for next Tuesday, which is November the 14th this year. It seems to be a little lower in temperature, but still pretty mild. I don't know whether how people are dressed in the video can baffle you or not. He might claim that they don't need a heater inside. Anyways, I have to put the record straight now. This video was taken this year, but in March, on the last day, which is March the 31st. The day before, the man I interviewed 4.5 months ago on a Hegel tour passed away. This is him almost 1 year ago, 4.5 months before the video. Then I said he was literally the last man living regularly in the mountain, among some other mountains of our village.
He is 72 years old, and 3 years ago he got a disease, a cancer, a kind of cancer of gullet cancer. And now he lives on a lot of medicines. You know what, actually, I have found that not just quite recently, even years ago, I talked with my wife. I told her that I realized that there is a higher incidence of cancer in rural China, at least in the village where she, was born into and grew up. She kind of pushed back this kind of idea, maybe because she, she thinks living here is very healthy and natural. To that, I totally agree. But the thing is, I still think that there is a higher incidence of cancer based on what I have seen and heard in this kind of a village in China. And I think personally the reason is because people here, when they were younger, they lived in very hard conditions and also not exposed to any education. In that case, you don't know what to do to maintain your health. And over time, when you eat just a monotonous diet without any variety, you also get into some problem. I think this is what it is behind what I have observed in rural China.
Now let's still travel back to the end of March, March the 31st. As I said, the day earlier, the man passed away. After bitter and agonizing struggles with the cancer of esophagus. The main event of the day is the burial ceremony that sets off from home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. His body is going to be buried together with his wife's in the joint tomb. My wife Lan Lan told me about 5 years ago his wife died of stomach cancer. For the burial, there's going to be a procession that escorts the coffin with the body inside and carries all the festoons, for the lack of a better word, and some other ornaments, including those wreaths. In this video clip, you are going to see only how people prepare around lunchtime. Today, all the family, close friends, neighbors, and the deputy of the public work unit, for whom he once worked and to which he is still subject, come to the spot. I'm here with Lan Lan, who is the younger generation relative of the man. He was actually the husband of my wife's aunt. We don't remain here for the lunch and the ensuing burial ceremony. This red piece of paper is a list of who is doing what for the day, out of which I see several tasks that have something to do with lunch, from preparing food, cooking, washing, cleaning, in addition to pallbearing, tending and dressing the body, and receiving guests or visitors who come with condolence money. The condolence money may remind you of hongbao of Chinese culture, the red envelope or gift money. It appears in many occasions, most famously in Chinese New Year from an adult to a child, or in a wedding from an invited friend attending the ceremony, and a number of curry favor scenarios in which one side is in need of an access or an easy access to a convenience or a favor from the other at the vantage point, in the fields of schooling, seeing a doctor, landing a job, etc. Sorry for a little bit deviant. We can talk about the hongbao culture another time. Let's cut back to what people are doing here. If you're interested in how much we give, I would like to tell you. Lan Lan in her part gave 300 yuan for herself and 600 yuan on behalf of her mother, who didn't come and appear due to work and distance. Be aware that we're in a village in rural China. In southeastern China, though, the more developed part of China in the country. The year before, there was a new marriage of the younger generation of the family. That's why you can still find the character on the wall over there, meaning double happiness, the icon of marriage. I haven't told you that this house isn't the old man's. It's one of her daughters. Most of the time in his life, after his wife passed away, he lived alone atop a mountain. Sometimes he did live here with his daughter's family for periods of time of getting medical help for his disease. This is the brief biography of the man, in formulaic format, but not in traditional script. I mean, traditional Chinese characters. I was told the man's body lies in state in the room next, inside. This young man seems to be the registrar, keeping record of every account of condolence money. In exchange, the condoler gets name written on a pair of mourning couplets, which says, so-and-so expresses grievous condolences to the passing of Mr. Yao, the man in memory. Just now in picture, the man in black wearing a cap talking with the registrar is one of the 3 paternal uncles of my wife, Lan Lan. In the past few years, he is another one who has been struggling with a cancer. His head underwent 2 surgeries in the past 1 year or 2. Just like many of his peers, he struck out in his young age of the village into a big city, Hangzhou, where he has always lived. In Hangzhou, he married a city girl there and has ever since lived a pretty happy and successful life with 1 daughter, except for his recent condition of illness. In the past summer, his brother, who is also one of the 3 paternal uncles I mentioned of my wife, died of an uninflicted traffic accident after a long night shift of work. In wee hours, in poor visual condition, the scooter he steered tripped on something hard and raced on the street. As a result, he was thrown out at a pole in close range. Alright, let me stop here without going any more visual. Or maybe I have. Hopefully you don't mind much about my dark notes. I personally don't. Lan Lan told me in our small village, there's a man and a woman who were fixedly hired to keep vigil for the dead of other families, and I never minded giving them a lift when I saw them on the way. Finally, there's a little more about my personal experience related to this topic. I grew up in a shanty town in today's downtown of Shanghai. My grandparents found their way to Shanghai in a time of turmoils. As refugees, they were looking for a shelter in Westerner colonized Shanghai. They managed to settle in Shanghai and give birth to their children, my father and his siblings, who are Shanghainese upon birth. My father's generation, due to the heavy influence from the old, observed some rituals, like this one here. I remember in a shanty town, whenever someone died, a group of monks were invoked from a temple home to hold a chanting session for hours on end, especially for the first few days in a row intensively, followed by another one every 7th day for the whole period of 49 days. So my father's generation did the same when my grandmother and grandfather died respectively. Actually, I don't think my grandparents claimed themselves to be Buddhists. My father's generation did it probably because other people did it. And I believe it is perceived as a way to kind of expiate the sins of the dead to this day. This is a video clip from internet. I don't know where this happened. At least it was outdoor. I mean, it was actually not in the neighborhood at least. The next short video clip from internet has a ceremony held in a neighborhood, and I know it happened in Shanghai somewhere. I think this kind of private ceremony can be rarely seen at home, but you can still find them in a temple. Of course, for individuals, such a ceremony is held in a chamber somewhere in the temple. There are also ones held by Taoist monks like the next one. It happened recently in central northern China, Shanxi province. Their culture is one that has been nourished by the Yellow River, as opposed to the Yangtze River in my area. This is also from internet. You can pay attention to the song, typical of that region. Now this is a video clip I took recently on my way to the center of Shexian County. I believe this is a procession setting out from home for the burial ceremony. As I said before, since this area is close to the east coast of China, a more developed region, basically people exercises a slight touch of conventions, much more simplified than what people do in other vast regions across China. The next and also the last video clip shows a similar procession in Hunan province, the hometown of Chairman Mao. That holds in store a bunch of conventions people in modern time find hard to appreciate. Thanks for watching. Stick around and I'll bring you more real life of China. Have a good one.